Welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast, where the legal industry gets real. I'm your host, Eda Rosa, legal consultant, speaker, and founder of Eda Rosa LLC and the Limitless Paralegal Academy. This isn't your stuffy legal studies school lecture. We're talking mindset, money, modern workflows, and how to build a career and a life you don't need a vacation from. Let's cut the fluff, raise the bar, and change the game one conversation at a time. If you like what you hear, feel free to share and send us your feedback. Now let's talk paralegal. In this episode, I get to speak to John Reagan. We discuss how his early career defending insurance companies shaped the way he now advocates for injured individuals and families. With decades of trial experience, John shares insights into litigation strategy, client advocacy, and what it truly takes to pursue justice in personal injury law. Listen in for more. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. I'm your host, Eda, and today we have John Reagan.
You got it.
I know, I got it. Because you guys will understand once you see the spelling of his name why I was so particular with that. So we have John. He has a very interesting origin story that he's going to share. But before we do all that, let's talk about you, John. Let's talk about kind of what led you to where you're at today, which I guess is in the transition of the origin story anyway. So let's go from there. And I mean, now I'm interested. I'm at the edge of my seat now.
Yeah, so my name is spelled like the president, Reagan, but I
Yes.
say Regan. Always have. That's just how my dad raised us. So anyway, but I am currently the managing partner of a law firm in Ohio called Kisling, Nestico Redick. We have 6 offices around the state, about 180 employees, and we do exclusively auto, trucking, and premises liability, personal injury litigation. So
Mm, that's tough.
yeah, it's Ohio's an interesting state. It's very competitive. We have pretty strict laws that favor insurance companies and businesses. So it's an uphill climb for our consumers, but it's it's something I'm very familiar with, given
Mm.
where I started. So
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about where you started. I hear a lot of interesting things, so I want to hear it from you now.
well, I never thought I was going to be a lawyer growing
Mm.
up. My dad worked in finance. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, a retired nurse. And so growing up, I never envisioned the law. I was involved in high school in theater and had an interest in broadcasting. So I went to a small liberal arts college in Ohio, in Ashland, Ohio, and I studied radio, television production. And that's where I thought my career was going to lead me. So a lot
And
different
what
than
happened
expected.
there?
Yeah, yeah. So I worked at an NBC affiliate in Cleveland for 2 years after I got out of college, and I was newly married, and I realized that I really wanted to direct live television. I thought that was just high energy. If you've ever seen the inside of a control room or remote truck, there's a lot going on. It's very fast paced and very creative, and I really was attracted to that, but realized there was no way I could do that in Cleveland. I'd have to move around the country and kind of work my way up. That's how broadcasting generally
Oh, okay.
works. Yeah.
Mm.
So anyway, so I was going to be a fireman. I was going to be a cop. I didn't know what I was going to be. And I ran into a friend of my dad's who was a sitting judge in Cleveland, Ohio, trial judge, and he said, you're giving up on broadcasting. You're not going to be a cop. You're not going to be a fireman. He said, you're going to be a lawyer. And I said, Judge, I have a background in radio and TV production. And he said, you could have a background in basket weaving. It doesn't matter. Did you get good grades? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, I've seen you act in plays since you were a kid. If you can get up in front of people and memorize things and present. He said, "You can be a lawyer. Go take the LSAT." So I took the LSAT and I got a decent score, and I got into Cleveland State University's law school. And again, being newly married and already with college debt, I realized I couldn't go full time. So they had an evening program. And so I needed to find something other than broadcasting, which was a 9 to 5 job, so I could go at night. So I answered a want ad in the newspaper, which back in the 90s they had.
There was newspapers.
There were newspapers and there were want ads. There was
Yeah.
no Indeed or LinkedIn.
Classifieds, cartoons were my favorite.
There you go. Yeah, there were no online applications through Indeed or LinkedIn. It was you typed up a cover letter and your resume and you mailed it in the U.S.
That's right,
Postal
and a
Service.
typewriter, and a
Yes,
typewriter.
yes. At least they had electronic typewriters in the 90s. So,
Yes, this is true. Very true.
but anyway, so I applied, I answered a want ad for a claims adjuster for an insurance company, knowing nothing about insurance and nothing about claims. And so I ended up getting the job at, and I handled claims from 8 to 5 every day. And then I drove downtown and went to law school from 6 to 10, 4 nights a week. And I never thought I was going to get through law school, to be honest. I, um, I was in school with everyone who knew they were going to be a lawyer since the day they were born. And I knew really very little about the law. But anyway, I stuck it out and I got out of law school. And because I had an insurance background, I was marketable to insurance defense firms that defended bodily injury and property claims on behalf of their policyholders. So I went to a small firm, got some trial experience defending insurance company policyholders, and I kind of had an understanding how insurance companies operate in terms of investigating and defending claims. And so I moved to a larger firm for the next 10 years, and I defended a lot of trucking companies and insurance policyholders on pretty significant personal injury and wrongful death claims.
Mm.
And yeah, so at the time, I got to know Rob Nestico, who's one of the founding owners of this firm, Kisling, Nestico, and Redick. And he would refer me cases from time to time. And if they were against Allstate or Progressive or State Farm, I didn't have a conflict because I was working mostly for national insurance companies and trucking companies. So he referred me a few cases. I tried a few of them on behalf of injured claimants, and I really enjoyed that. And so Rob can be very persuasive and started asking me
He's a
if
good lawyer.
he's a lawyer. He's a very persuasive lawyer and businessman. So he asked me if I'd ever consider doing plaintiff's side litigation. And I put him off for a little while. And then I was handling uh, a trucking case involving a young man who was significantly injured by a tractor trailer that rear-ended his pickup truck on the highway. And he suffered a traumatic brain injury. He suffered multiple orthopedic injuries. He had a life care plan, which projects future costs and accommodations. And it was in the seven figures to care for this young man for the rest of his life.
Wow.
For
Wow.
example, he couldn't cook in his kitchen because he would forget that he turned on the stove and he could catch the house on fire. I mean, when he stood up, he had a vestibular injury. And when he stood up sometimes too quickly, he would vomit because he would get so disoriented. It was just a
Oh,
horrible case, Ada. And I went down to Southern Ohio for a mediation with one of my partners. And I was in the hotel room the night before the mediation. And I realized my job on behalf of the trucking company and insurance company was to give this young man the least amount of money possible. And I got sick to my stomach. And shortly thereafter, I called Rob Nestico and I said, "Hey, let's talk." So that was in 2010. I joined the firm. I've been representing injured claimants and their families for the last 15 years. I love it. I love representing the underdog. I love using the knowledge that I have from defending insurance companies and trucking companies to help my clients. Um, I now have clients who want to hug me or pray with me or text me all their concerns, and I could be there for them. And so that's what I love about my job. Again, I love being the underdog. If I catch a uh, an NBA game or a college basketball game on TV, I'm always going to root for the team that's ranked lower. I just love to see an upset, and I love to work for the underdog. So that's my story. I hope you
I
find
love it.
it.
Oh my God, yeah, you got me tearing up over here. That is so amazing. I love that. I never heard an attorney speak like that, like that. I talk to a lot of attorneys, right? Obviously, it's our job as a consulting firm. That's basically all we do is talk to attorneys all day. But when you told me about that case, like I talk about this a lot on the podcast. There's always that one case that's very pivotal in our life, and I talk about it a lot. That's the inspiration of my third book that's about to launch in a few weeks. And so it was that one case that kind of threw me off the edge and said, no, change needs to happen and it needs to happen now. So yeah, that hit me hard.
Hmm. Yeah. What was your one case?
It was a little girl. She was close in age to my daughter. And we luckily were working for the family. I wasn't working for the insurance company, so I was on the right side of the law on this one. It was a very sensitive one because the person that was quote unquote responsible was a friend of the family. And so it wasn't like, and it was obviously it was irresponsible of the person, but it was very dynamic, right? When it came to like emotions and how far they wanted to take the case. But the baby girl, I call her baby girl, and we call it the baby girl case in the story. But the baby girl also suffered brain trauma. She had to relearn everything, how to walk, how to eat, how to learn how to speak. I mean, everything. She literally had to relearn everything. And I think what hit home for me was it happened in an area where my husband grew up in, and we would go in there constantly. We would do the same activities and we'd trust our friends to do the same thing. Like it was a situation where I could literally see myself because we would do it all the time. We would be on that same lake. We would go boat riding. So it was very close to home. And luckily, literally, and luckily, my father-in-law at the time before, he's now retired, but at the time he worked for Shands Hospital, which is in the Gainesville area, and we were able to get her the best care possible because of that, because we were able to have that relationship with the providers. And everybody knows my father-in-law, so it was very, again, it was very close to home, right? It was just too close. And, I would go home and cry and hug my daughter because I said that could be her. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's one of those situations where, you look at your client's story and the events that led up to, a horrible crash, and you think there, but for the grace of God go I, because that could have easily been me.
Yeah.
A client just driving down the road and someone distracted goes left of center. That could be me or my wife
Yeah.
or one of my kids. And
Yeah.
that's when it really makes an impact, doesn't it?
It does. And, when I'm like, it's always those things, even in the morning when I'm taking the kids to school and we see accidents, we hear the ambulances, we see the cops, the whole nine yards. And I'm like, oh, that was an irresponsible person trying to make a U-turn, probably ran the light. Like I already can, from the scene, I already know kind of what already happened because I was doing it for so long. And we did big cases. We did bridges collapsing. We've done gyms, that caught on fire with everybody in it and operation. So, we handled a lot of cases at that firm. And I worked with that firm for 3 years
Mm.
as a freelance paralegal, which was very different experience than a W-2 employee. And it was amazing. It was honestly one of probably the best experiences I ever had. And it really set the stage for the rest of it, for what we do now and why we care so much about the team members of the law firms and why our consulting is a little different because we not only teach the skills and train the staff and do the processing and do everything, but we also teach them about, hey, it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to get personal. It's perfectly normal. You're human. And that's ultimately what the book is about. It's about secondary trauma. It's about reliving it. It's about, still talking to the family after 10 years of the case. And, they still have my phone number. I haven't changed my number for a reason. And I still, follow up with that family and make sure that the baby girl is okay. And, it's, I feel like as legal professionals, we get stuck in the tasks, in the, responsibility, in the strategy, in the analyzing, in the case law, and finding that one little, golden ticket that we ultimately forget that, we're here for the community. The community is who we're here for. We're here at their most vulnerable moment, most likely. And sometimes we miss the mark on that. So I enjoy going to local community festivals and seeing law firms there, representing the law firm and sponsoring and being more one with the community. I always say that's probably the best advertisement than a billboard or a bus, bus bench. Because they see you. They see you as the person. They see that you care. They see that you're literally monetarily and physically investing in the community. And that's going to stay with them because they want somebody that actually cares. And that's the best advertisement you can possibly think about. And sometimes we miss the mark on that. We get stuck with social media and how the video looks and how the pixels should be and why do I sound too monotone? Do I sound too scripted? And it's like it has nothing to do with that. They're gonna see right
Mm.
through you. You just
Yeah,
gotta
well,
kind of do it yourself.
yeah, and let's be honest. I mean, lawyers do not have a positive reputation in the community,
Yeah, I know.
especially if you're representing injured people. You know, you're considered an ambulance chaser by a lot of,
Chaser.
and first of all, that's not fair. I mean, the insurance companies have a lot of money and a lot of sophistication, and the ordinary individual um, is often not equipped to take on an insurance company. And if it weren't for personal injury lawyers who have the resources and the ability and the expertise to battle with the insurance companies, a lot of people get taken advantage of. And the community work is giving it's giving back to the community. And that's one thing I really enjoy about our law firm is, we have a K&R Cares program that we initiated many years ago where
Oh,
we
I
give
love
back to
that.
the community. So I love it. I think it's a great aspect to our firm. We give away swim lessons for young kids in the summer to promote water safety. We give away backpacks when kids are going back to school filled with supplies. We sponsor teachers' classrooms to make sure that they have all the necessary supplies. One of our big events every year is right before Thanksgiving. We give away 1,000 turkeys at our main office in Akron. And
What?
all you have to do to get a turkey is pull up with a non-perishable food item or a gently used coat and make that donation, and we give you a turkey. And it's a huge success every year. This is our 20-year anniversary, so we're expanding it to all of our other offices where they're going to visit people in their homes and deliver turkeys. So your point is great about, giving back and being visible in the community and being human. and being able to interact with the community. It sends, I think, a special message um, because that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like we missed the mark on that, which is why we dedicated this whole season on humanizing the legal industry, right? And Hollywood doesn't help us either with the way that lawyers are portrayed often. Yes, and then sometimes it's comedic, right? Like Liar Liar, one of my favorite films of all time, Legally Blonde, and it's very, I get it, it's entertainment at the end of the day, but it sends a message, right? It sends sometimes the wrong message, and it sends like little subconscious little notes in there. And so I love my Aaron Brockovich.
Yeah,
I'm
talk
all
about an
about
underdog
Aaron.
story,
I'm
right?
team Aaron.
All right.
Or the Donna in Suits. I love those two. Those are probably my favorite. But, I feel like sometimes we do miss the mark on that. And I feel like I always tell my clients in particular that are looking to scale and grow and really have that continuous, clientele. I always tell them nurture the clients you already have, and you will be blessed and bountiful 10 times more than that. Because if it doesn't matter what belief system you guys have, but when you give with good intention, and it'll come back to you tenfold. So it doesn't matter. I know Christianity says God only gives you what you can handle, right? And so, in spirituality, we call it energy, where it's the yin and the yang, right? Where there's a balance in life. So honestly, it doesn't matter what belief system you have. In every belief system, there is some shape or form of what we just said. So just make sure that what you're giving out is what you want to get back, karma, belief, prayer, namaste, whatever it is that you believe in, it will ultimately come back to you. So make sure that you give with good intention. So I love
Sure.
that. I love that.
Connecting on a human level with your clients and understanding them only helps you as a lawyer to convey their story, right?
Yeah.
To an insurance adjuster or a mediator or a judge or a jury. Because if you don't have that human connection with your client where you can really understand their story, you're not going to be an effective advocate. So it's part
That's
and parcel to what we do here at the firm.
I love that. I love advocacy. It's very important and it's something that's underrated sometimes. And I
Yeah.
love your story. I enjoyed it. I'm like here, literally, if you guys can't see me, I'm here with my little hand on my chin. It's like it was so intriguing. I'm like leaning in, right? Like if we were in person, I'd probably be leaning in right now. But I thank you so much, John, for taking the time out of your busy schedule, for giving back, for understanding the importance of humanizing the legal industry, and ultimately for just being an all-around cool guy.
Thanks. You're sweet. I appreciate the time spending with you.
Awesome. Until justice served, until next time. Bye, guys. Hey, legal pros, are you ready to stop playing small? The Limitless Paralegal Academy is officially open, offering powerhouse courses, real world tools, and expert led training to help you build the career and life you actually want. We're not stopping there. The Limitless Paralegal Tour is hitting the road. We're bringing the mindset shifts, career strategies, and community straight to your city with epic speakers, actionable sessions, and zero boring PowerPoints. This isn't your average CLE. This is your legal career reimagined. Join the Academy, meet us on tour, become the legal pro everyone remembers. Visit limitlessparalegals.academy.com to enroll and grab your ticket now. Be bold, be brilliant, but most importantly, be limitless.